Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. We are talking about current investment opportunities in CIS countries with Mr. Zolotarev. He is founder and chairman of Maximus Capital. Mr. Zolotarev, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. So, however, we have this unsteady climate right now in CIS countries. Investors are discouraged, especially about the Ukraine crisis and the sanctions. What is the impact of the sanctions on the debt and equity markets in the CIS region?
Well, obviously, within that question, there are lots of small questions, and there are many concerns. And in order, I think, for my answer to be meaningful, it's important to understand, what investors are really looking for when they invest, especially in emerging markets. One of the main criteria for investments is stability, and in the lack of stability, there should be some kind of a path to a resolution. In this particular case, there seems to be no end in sight. And this conflict only seems to be escalating from time to time. There is a great deal of rhetoric, and investors are failing to differentiate between what is real and what are just threats, and which are credible threats. So in this geopolitical environment, it's very difficult to make investment decisions, especially long term. So as an investment markets, for investments, it's a very difficult time. To speculate, I think it's a very good time.
Mm-hmm. And so you recently launched a special opportunities fund. So which countries should interested investors particularly look at right now in the CIS region?
Well, we look at four core markets. These are Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan. Not necessarily because these are the countries with the most events happening, and they are. It's because they have some kind of a meaningful market. Russia obviously has the most, if not the only, real equity market. And the other countries have pretty good debt markets, very well developed and well known in the West. So we just try to take advantage of the opportunities and the disconnect between the events that take place in those countries and how those events are priced and interpreted by large Western investors.
Mm-hmm. So, can you give us an example? For example, where do you invest right now?
Well, I'll give you an example of something that happened fairly recently. One of the largest banks in Ukraine, Ukreeximbank, it announced just weeks before its Eurobond was about to mature that they're not going to pay. And even the central bank issued some kind of a statement saying that, well, the default is not unlikely. So with this kind of a message, obviously the bonds sold off very rapidly, and most global investors dumped them, and the price went down to as low as 50, and it was in high 90s beforehand. I felt that this was an opportunity to buy, and I never really believed they're going to default. I thought they were definitely going to restructure, and at the end of the day, they did. So it was about, 40% return on that trade in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. So what is the investment perspective in terms of time? So how long should investors look in terms of the investment perspective?
Well, at times of volatility, it presents a lot of opportunities to engage in these speculative trades if you can differentiate reality from fiction. There are a lot of statements being made, and if you take them at face value, that leads to a certain decision. And sometimes those decisions don't accurately reflect economic reality. So, I've spent 20 years in these markets. I'd like to think I understand them a little bit better, and we try to benefit, and our investors try to benefit from this disconnect in the information between what's being said and what actually happens.
Mm-hmm. And if we go another time to the more global perspective, so CIS countries are rich in natural resources, but especially now the crude oil price is very low. Actually, how does the sharp fall in the crude oil price impact the economic possibilities in these countries?
Well, CIS countries, notably, of course, Russia, but also Ukraine and Kazakhstan, are very rich in natural resources, not only oil. It's also nickel and iron ore and coal and other commodities. Having a lot of these riches is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it creates a great deal of wealth quickly. On the other hand, you are dependent on it, and it prevents you from developing a diversified economy. And that's exactly what happened. It's grown to be a resource-rich economy. They failed to diversify, and at the end of the day, the GDP and their finances of these nations are directly linked to the price of commodities. It's very difficult to run. It's difficult to run a company on that basis. Imagine how difficult it is to run a country on that basis.
Mm-hmm. So, to sum it up, is now the right time to invest in CIS countries in this time of instability and uncertainty?
It's a very good time to selectively pick out the right opportunities. Like I said, it's not a good time to invest. It's a great time to speculate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mr. Zolotarev, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.